Some people fail because they give up too easily. But there is another group of people who struggle for a completely different reason. They don't lack motivation. They don't lack discipline. Their problem is something much stranger. They are interested in too many things. Maybe you felt this before. You sit down and try to plan your future, and suddenly your mind starts opening doors. You imagine yourself as a writer, then maybe an entrepreneur, then maybe a psychologist, then maybe a filmmaker. And the strange thing is, none of these feel wrong. They all feel like a part of you. And that's where the real problem begins. Because when everything feels possible, choosing just one path feels almost impossible. So instead of moving forward, you stay stuck, not because you are lazy, not because you lack ambition, but because every choice feels like giving up a different version of yourself. Over time, society gives people like this a label. You've probably heard it before. Jack of all trades, master of none. And that label carries a lot of weight. It makes curiosity feel like a weakness. It makes exploration feel like failure. But what if that entire idea is outdated? For the last 100 years, the world rewarded specialists, people who chose one narrow field and spent their entire lives going deeper and deeper into it. That worked well in a world that was stable and predictable. Industries changed slowly. Careers lasted decades. If you became an expert in one thing, you were safe. But the world today looks very different. Technology evolves faster than ever. Entire professions disappear in just a few years. And the problems we face today are more complex than ever before. In this kind of world, the ability to connect ideas across different fields becomes incredibly valuable. Think about some of the most creative breakthroughs in history. They rarely come from someone who only knows one thing. They often come from someone who sees connections others miss. A scientist inspired by art, a programmer inspired by music, a designer inspired by biology. This ability has a name. It's called far transfer. It means taking knowledge from one field and applying it to a completely different one. And the people who are naturally good at this are called polymaths, people who explore multiple disciplines and then build bridges between them. But there is a mistake many curious people make. They try to pursue everything at once, which leads to a frustrating place. You start many things, but finish very few. You learn a little about everything, but never go deep enough to feel confident. This creates what we might call the dash-shaped life. A mile wide, but only an inch deep. The solution is not to abandon your curiosity. The solution is to structure it. Instead of chasing 10 things at once, you build something called an M-shaped career. This means you develop 2 or 3 areas of deep expertise. Think of them as pillars. For example, your first pillar might be data analysis. Your second pillar might be storytelling. And suddenly you become the person who can take complex numbers and turn them into stories that leaders actually understand. That combination becomes powerful because while many people can analyze data, very few can explain it clearly. And that is where real value appears. But how do you build something like this without feeling overwhelmed? The answer is surprisingly simple. You don't build everything at once. You build it one season at a time. Instead of trying to master 5 skills simultaneously, you focus deeply on one skill for a period of time. Maybe 6 months, maybe a year. You push through the learning curve. You reach a level where you feel comfortable solving real problems. Not perfection, just competence. Then something interesting happens. Your curiosity naturally begins pulling you somewhere new. And instead of feeling guilty, you recognize that moment as growth. You have completed one pillar. Now you begin building the next. Over time, something amazing starts happening. Your knowledge begins connecting itself. Ideas from one field start solving problems in another. Your brain becomes a network of patterns and insights. And that is when curiosity transforms into creativity. But there is one final challenge curious minds face. They generate more ideas than they can remember. Your brain is constantly producing new interests, new questions, new possibilities. If you try to hold all of them in your head, eventually you feel overwhelmed. That is why many great thinkers built systems to capture their ideas. One famous example is the sociologist Niklas Luhmann. He wrote over 70 books during his lifetime, and his method was surprisingly simple. Every time he had an idea, he wrote it down on a small note. Then he connected it to other related ideas. Over time, those notes formed a massive network of knowledge. And from that network, entire books emerged almost naturally. Today you can build the same kind of system using tools like Notion, Obsidian, or even a simple notebook. The key idea is this: never trust your memory with your best thoughts. Capture them, store them, connect them. Because someday, those random interests you've collected over the years will suddenly combine into something powerful. And when that moment happens, you will realize something important. You were never meant to follow just one path. You were meant to be the person who connects the paths. And in a complex world, that ability might be more valuable than ever.